Hello and welcome to this whiteboard lesson where we'll be talking about your main fulfillment process. The reason why defining your fulfillment process is that this will easily introduce a structure in your business. This is an example of the processes that are not only defined but actually printed out and hung in various places within the business. They are our different services that we offer, the online store. And the most important point here is what we call the validation step. So the validation means that we know what needs to be done. And even though we are a steel company, quite surprisingly, making steel is the easiest bit. Once we know what needs to be done, that's easy. But validating a project, that is the most difficult part. So then if we have Stilo Daily, which are our daily projects, which are normally the smaller ones, we follow a very simple process where we get the information or inquiry from the customer. We then prepare a quote and then we get dimensions from our customers together with the payment. And then it goes for design, production and delivery. If it's a Stilo Max project, which are the large projects, the ones that are not only large as defined by the name, but also spread in time, then they, as you can see here, they require meetings, in-person meetings, obviously with COVID could be online, then a quote, and then the validation cycle, which can go on forever because there are plenty of parties involved in validating the project. And the beauty of having this defined is that when you go to customers and you say, look, this is what will happen with this project, the thing that we all need to focus on is this part here, because this is where projects get delayed. So by doing so, you become a very trustworthy company because you are transparent, you're just laying things out as they are, but you also get your customer on board together with you, helping you to validate the project so that you can deliver the project as promised. Many business owners run around like headless chickens, if not themselves, then definitely their managers, because they just sort of dive into this chaos, which looks like fighting through a jungle each day, and then you wake up in the morning only to find that the path you've created is overgrown and you now need to fight your way through it all over again. So that is why if you start defining your processes, it actually becomes a much clearer way to look at your business, and then implementing change or improving things is far more easier than trying to manage chaos. By the way, if you're managing chaos, you don't have time to look at your processes. You don't have time to sort of make the stand back or step back, because stand back is my training course. Step back to look at how your company operates as if it was a well-oiled machine. What happens? People go inside the machine and they're one of those parts doing something very important in that machine, but there's no way they can see clearly what's happening with their business when they're inside of it. So the process is very simple. There are two obvious knowns. The first one is that you have customers, or I hope you do have. So let's start over here. We have a customer. And the other thing we know for sure, we want to fulfill the customer's order. So in the end, we have a box which we can tick because this means the job is done. Now I don't know why I started writing so high, because I won't be writing anything below, but yeah, it's just a habit of expecting to do a lot of writing. And I am, by the way, called sometimes by my colleagues here Mr. Board, Mr. Whiteboard, because I just love using whiteboards. And they are a beautiful tool. You can literally download everything you have in your head onto a board, and by drawing things you can actually explain a lot. But anyway, let's go back to our process. So we know we need to finish, and we know that if there's a customer, then surely there is an inquiry. And if there's an inquiry, then more often than not, there is a quote. So we could probably argue that this is a given and this is a given. Now, in between is the fulfillment process. And it all depends what type of business you are. If you are a manufacturing company like we are, then there is the design process, then there's the manufacturing, and then there's the delivery. If you are a, let's say, solicitor, then there is the due diligence, then the helping out, and then the final reports, and so on and so on. So this applies to any business, and every business actually does have a process inside of it. You might doubt it, but actually when you think about it and when you start drawing it out, it becomes obvious that a business can actually be a business and have return customers only because there is a process. It might not be documented, which is a different issue, but there surely is a process. So from here, you need to decide what happens. Let's stick with manufacturing. So then there's the design process, then there is the production process, and then logistics, or let's write it down as delivery, because it might be more in line with what you do, because you might be doing drop shipping or whatever it is. So this is the process. It's as simple as this, and you can now delve in deeper, because in order to prepare a quote, there are certain steps that need to happen. So we could now write down here another process, which is called the quoting process. So we get an email. From email, you allocate an estimator or a salesperson. Then the salesperson either makes a phone call, which they should, in order to build a relationship. Then they will do their quotes or prepare a price, send it out, and then make the sale happen. For the design or whatever other process it is, they need also some input data, and they need to prepare something for the next department. Next department needs to get materials. They need to know what they do, put it all together and make the thing. And then the logistics or the delivery department, they need to send it or deliver it to our customers. And you can go down deep, sometimes really deep, like even with checklists, how should a driver behave when dealing with customers and so on. So you can be really, it could be really detailed. The good thing about this kind of process is that it's very clear to employees where they sit in this chain. When you have people jumping, like you have a superhero in the office and they do everything, well, then that's a good thing if that person is around. But if that person gets hit by a bus, as described in my Stand Back to Grow book, then unfortunately your whole business will take a knock. So that's why you have to make sure that it is actually the business that runs on procedures, on systems, rather than by geniuses within the business. So just to go a bit deeper, the thing that a customer does want to know when placing an order is the deadline, or when they can expect their product. And you know well, if you are placing an order, especially with some online providers, and you sometimes only buy it because you know you're going to get it for next day. If it was for 3 weeks' time, you probably wouldn't place the order in the first place. So that is why customers very often, probably even at this stage, but let's start from the customer, they need to know the date of when you are going to fulfill the order. And there's nothing more annoying than cheating the customer by providing a shorter lead time, knowing that you won't be able to fulfill it on time. That really drives customer crazy, and quite rightly so, because that is very annoying. What you can also do here is now work backwards, because you by defining the process and knowing how much each of these steps take, it's much easier for your sales team to tell or give a customer an idea of when it could be fulfilled. Now, obviously, if it is online shopping and deliveries, then you are expected to deliver it for next day. That is becoming the standard. But if it's a more complicated process, then things do take time. So let's say for delivery, obviously we need 1 day. Oops, this marker has definitely served its purpose. So we need 1 day. Let's say production, we need 3 days. The design is 2 days. And to prepare a quote, a proper quote, it is 1 day. So quite easily we know that this process takes 7 days. So basically It's not 1 week because you have to exclude Saturday and Sunday, so it's actually a week and 2 days. Now, the next step you can do with this process is to look for improvements, because just by looking at it, the thing that takes the most time is production and design. So it would be pointless focusing on speeding up delivery because you would be only able to save 1 day. The question is, how can you turn these 5 days into, let's say, 2 days? So this straight away tells you where to focus. So this is a very simple graph, but it is surprisingly unknown to many. So I hope that based on this, you'd be able to also define your fulfillment process and then dig deeper into each of these stages to define your procedures. And by doing so, you do the small step required to create a stand-back business, which means that a business operates like a well-oiled machine without you, the owner, or a specific person having to be there every day to manage chaos. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It was quite a short one, but there are plenty more whiteboard lessons, so please watch all of them, and also please follow my vlogs, which provide a lot of content and thoughts. I share a lot of my experiences through those vlogs. Please subscribe, and also if there's anything you'd like to ask me, then simply please ask michaelk.com. Thank you.